70s, this is an article from Economist, and I like the perspective. In the 70s, food industry was scared by calorie concept. By the way, they came up with it, you know, and well, people are going to eat fewer calories, and then we're going to lose customers. Nobody cares about calories anymore. They just put post in there for you, and then you eat just fine. Nobody. Salt was another scare. We got rid of that. Oh, eat low salt food. It's okay. They went up on the sugar. No problem. You know, saturated fat. This was the stop eating beef and cheese and, you know, dairy. You know, fat. No problem. Then we switched to vegetables and sugar. We kept going. Now, the big real scare was actually Atkins diet. Everybody knows about that in the 2000s. Big one. Keto diets. Big one. As a matter of fact, food industry, you know, stock market went down by, you know, 40%. It was a disaster for a year or 2 years. Okay? Big deal. Unfortunately, that stopped. So that's the only one that actually made an impact temporary, because people just loved it. There was an alternative. It was working. If you want to lose weight, it does. The catch is you got to do it right. In other words, if you got to cut the carbs below 30 grams a day, because if you go back, let's say you cut it for a day or two, and then you go back and you have 100, then you have suddenly high fat and high sugar. You're back to eating my fried chicken, and it's way worse. So you have to be very consistent and strict with it. But if you do it, it works, and that's what scared them. Unfortunately, Dr. Atkins died into a skate accident in Central Park, and then everything just stopped. Okay, and now it's for gluten and dairy, right? Well, you got an allergy, stop. You got gluten intolerance. You get, you know, dairy intolerance. Sure, that didn't stop them. They found, you know, you have. The truth is, a lot of gluten is actually wheat intolerance. And I was hoping that in 2020 we'll talk about ultra processed food and sugar and vegetable oils. No, that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Ozempic or Govi Manjaro. Eat anything you like, because I got the O vitamin. Okay, and that is a big problem. And you know, I show you here how worried and concerned I am, because it's distracting. Why is it distracting? Again, does it work for those who want to get a kickstart and for a certain batch? Absolutely. You lose 10% of your body weight if you can have access to it and if we can afford it. Does it treat the cause and it's a long-term solution? Absolutely not. It's like I just told you, in the past, if you have diabetes and I give you insulin, you have diabetes, and I'll give you insulin for the rest of your life. So now if you're obese, I'm going to give you Ozempic for the rest of your life, just like I give you insulin for diabetes for the rest of your life. And yet I ignore what caused diabetes to begin with, and I ignore what caused obesity to begin with and disease. So no, it buys you some time. Like everything else, the drug just proves the mechanism. It doesn't provide the solution, provided we can afford and we side ourselves. And you know what? Ultra-processed food, industry is bouncing back. This just came out last week. Nestle is launching food line targeting Ozempic, other weight loss drug users. Hey, stay on your Ozempic. I got special ultra-processed food for you, for your convenience, for your design, and it's coming. And ultra-processed food is not going away. That's why I wanted to show you how to read labels. Here's how I'm gonna teach you how to read labels. Chips. First of all, if you see any oiled version, don't. If there are chips, first of all, don't. Because dry and high, that's how they are cooked. All right? It doesn't matter if they have the oil or not. Having said that, canola, sunflower oil, already a disaster. MSG, I told you, excited dairy. Sodium diacetylase, that's the preservative. Anyway, these are the FEPs, like I said. Flavor enhancer. And then let's read the labels. Here's 21 pieces, 28 grams, 11 grams total fat. You subtract the saturated fat. Remember, that's neutral. I'm not saying that's good. Well, I'm saying that's neutral. It's not poisonous. All right? Because if you have a lot of saturated fat, you eat a lot of butter, you're going to have problems from that too. I am not saying you just go and eat a pound of butter now. Okay? All I'm saying is it doesn't bother as long as you use just for condiments. So 11 minus 1.5, it's whatever is it. 8.5 is 2 teaspoons. Basically, it's equivalent to 2.5 teaspoons of vegetable oil per serving of this. It comes from sunflower because that's where it comes. Nothing healthy about that. And you get 4 teaspoons of not just carbs, but it's fast-release carbs because it's amylopectin, it's white starches, very fast absorbed, big spike of insulin, big spike of fattening storage agent after that. And it's aged. Why? It's dry and high, it's oxidized carb. This is not real carb that we can deal with. And again, it has a lot of fats. Remember, 80% of disease is the vegetable oil and the sugar. 20% disease is the food additives. So we gotta watch for both of those. And what do fats do? If you see the name, leaky gut, inflammation, metabolic syndrome, overgrowth of toxic bacteria. So what you did, you have anti-nutrients. There is no nutrition value into this. And sugar and salt. Okay, so that's one label. Well, some rules for, here's the rules for labels here. If you want to look at the total carbs, ideally 12 grams per serving. Why? What's 12 grams? How many teaspoons? 3, because it's 12 divided by 4, 3. So how would you like your coffee? No more than 3 teaspoons of sugar. We all agree that above 3, we're overdoing it. All right? And that's why I have these 12. All right? That's what you like. As long as it's not, then sodium, if you were to look for sodium, less than 100 milligrams per serving. That means they alter it as little as possible. And maybe the best marker is something that says, particularly has a lot of fiber. You want your carbs to fiber ratio to be less than 3 to 5 to 1. All right? And this is what Dr. Lustig rule has. And he's right. And you want ideally no vegetable oil or less than half teaspoon. Very low is possible. Remember, any of that means you're smoking some cigarettes. Okay? Got it? So, and then, what about cooking at home? I want you to use salt when you cook at home. I got no problem with that. Just cut the sugar so the salt doesn't stay into your system. I have no problem with you using some salt to cook as long as you make your own food. Okay? All right? Just be careful you do preservatives, and I'm talking about that's pickles and that's something else. But I'm talking about when you cook every day on a day-to-day, no problem. You can use some salt. And use butter or what we call saturated fat kind of products, coconut, baby oil for fat. Skip the sugar. Okay? No problem with the salt for that. And here I give you example of bread. Let's use those rules to see which bread is good here. So we have Ezekiel bread, right? And then we have this nutritious whole grain. Whole grain is supposed to be healthy, but it's made from, look, brown rice and canola oil. All right? I'm going to put the ingredients together. This is the Ezekiel bread. See, I look at the total carb fiber, because you can do, you see, total carb 15, total fiber is 3, ratio is 5 or less. That means it's a real deal, has not been destroyed. That has actually good fiber, and they have not destroyed it. All right, if it's 3 to 5 to 1. Sugar, 0, they don't add anything. Polyunsaturated fatty acids, remember you look at the total fat, 0.5 minus 0, 0.5, that's very little, there's no, it's just what it came with the grains. I'm fine with that. Sodium, Ezekiel bread, even sodium is 75. This is one of the healthiest breads you can ever have. And there is no, when I look at the ingredients, there is nothing else but what they put there, the grains, salt and water. So this is healthy. By the way, you'll find it on the refrigerator section. It goes bad right away, so you know if it goes bad fast, that's healthy food. All right? That's where you find. So I have no problem with Ezekiel. But what about this one, multi-grain one? Well, let's look at the numbers. Total carb to fiber ratio is 22. Because look, total carb 22, dietary fiber 1. I don't care how multi-grain is this. They destroyed the fiber. That means it's been altered. I don't care. It's too high. It should be less than 5. They add a little bit of sugar. Okay, just a teaspoon. Not a big deal. Sodium goes higher from 100 milligrams, my number. And then you have your polyunsaturated fatty acid. It's 1 teaspoon, 4 grams. Now, does that bother me? Well, it's better than 3 or 5, because 5 would be a pack of cigarettes. This is only 1, which means it's only 5 cigarettes instead of 20. But it's still not good. And it's supposed to be healthy. This one has nothing. All right? What about this one? There is actually this is what Dr. Lustig recommends, natural fitness bread. It's really real whole grain, and it's good. Actually, you see, we can find others. It doesn't have to be Ezekiel. And it's whole wheat, whole rice, oat kernels, wheat germ. Total carb fiber is good. It's less than 5, 4 to 1. It's got a little sugar or nothing. It doesn't bother me. Very little PO5 if there's any. It just has a little more sodium, so I wouldn't recommend this with somebody with heart failure, but it's still way healthier. These two are way healthier than the other multi-grain. So now you learn how to select the good one, all right? What about granola bars? This is how you get fast track to diabetes and fatty liver. Protein bars, granola bars, they're sugar and vegetable oil bars. Don't fool yourself. Look, we can look at the same rules. Total carb 37 minus 5, the dietary fiber is 32. I'm going to divide my 32 by 37 divided by 5, way higher than 5. So this is not real fiber. I don't know what they're going to do with it. You got 8 teaspoons of sugar when you divide that. For that, it's very small. I mean, I don't even know if you're trying to fit that. If you just take your 8 teaspoons of sugar, try to fit in a little package, you won't fit. So you understand that you're masters of doing this, because you need that sugar to actually bind the proteins together. Otherwise, they'll be just liquid and they won't work like a paste. So then you have vegetable oil. You add another 2 teaspoons from that. Why? Because look, total fat 10 minus 1.5, 8.5 divided by 2. You see, they don't call it polyunsaturated fat, but that's what it is. How do I know? Because it says sunflower oil, canola oil in the ingredients. But that's what it is. And then do I want, 2 teaspoons or about 10 cigarettes in that package, little package, and I eat 2 maybe a day or 3 a day? No. You want sodium to be less than 100, and then you have proteins. You say, well, it's got protein. What else do you want? Okay, let's see. Well, it's 10 grams. It's called branched chain amino acid. What's the problem with that? Well, one of them is called leucine. Leucine stimulates insulin. So what happens, you already stimulate insulin from 8 teaspoons of sugar from your vegetable, and now you add a lot of this protein. All this food actually is going to go into your liver and cause fatty liver. It's not going to go to your muscles, that protein. It's not going to go to your brain. It's perceived as an abundance, and you just release a lot of insulin and it goes for storage. And basically, we're hoarding. This is food that's going to be hoarded. It's not going to be available. And guess what? You're going to be hungry 10 minutes later again, because there's no food. And, what happens, just to have an idea, this is how a cells look inside when we put all the molecules together. Do you get the sense that we have any place to store fat in our cells, except our professional storage? So imagine that in our liver is supposed to metabolize. It has all these things that are supposed to move. You see why we hoard fat in our cells? We're going to be sick no matter what version we're going to have, whether we feel it or not. All right? I wish we could feel it sooner. But we have let me show you what happened to our professional storage cells, which are the fat cells. They grow from this to that. They start to, I told you, get inflamed. They're about to burst. Each of the fat cell has a maximum capacity. At one point, they'll start bursting. They get inflamed. And actually, they start to cause inflammation. And then you get inflammation in the whole bloodstream from what the fat cells release. You get cellular rusting everywhere. You get fatty, and that contributes further. At one point, the fat cells themselves can't store anymore and contribute to that inflammation, and we get sick. And the perfect example is somebody has got a morbid obesity, God forbid, and get some infection, appendicitis, and we got to take the appendix out. And they go in the hospital, then they're more likely to get infections, fevers, shocks, and stay in the hospital for a month, as opposed to the other one who is not, who's metabolic healthy. And that's why, because suddenly all that fat releases all this inflammation, and we have major issues with them getting them out of the ICU, antibiotics, and then they get complication. And actually, all our cells move towards inflammation. I put here, I use some words you don't know about it. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is, once you have the storage everywhere and inflammation everywhere, our own immune cell suddenly, instead of being designed to just have targeted, localized, killing a bacteria or a virus that was very well recognized, we're starting to have actually a non-specific everywhere kind of problem. Remember, 70% of our immune system, it's in our gut. So in our gut, it's a sewer. So anything happens to the gut from all those fats and vegetables and everything, it gets leaky. Our immune system gets primed. Then basically it's always more like this. Instead of being targeted fire in designated places like your little oven at home or a fireplace, then we get it everywhere. And you say, well, what is it? I check some, and they come to me, and my joints are hurting. All right, let me check for we have a blood test for inflammation in blood, and yeah, your C-reactive protein is very elevated. And it's all your immune cells are non-specific activated. You have inflammation everywhere, and that was just from your actually eating the fructose and vegetable oils and those fats that I was telling you about that messed up your gut, and now your immune system is like this. Everywhere is itchy from the omega-6 creating all those pro-inflammatory mechanisms, and your T cells and all the other cells doing this, and you're easy to get inflammation everywhere. You get toxic bacteria that can easily, your sewer is no longer isolated, you can get infection from the gut. You start to have autoimmunity, your immune system is overactivated everywhere, and you start to have immune reaction. You have allergies, eczema, asthma. That's from eating the wrong stuff and oxidize. Inflammatory bowel disease, and arthritis. I have many patients who are, say, so rescue, yeah, you run, 5 miles a day, but I can't, my knees are hurting. And I heard the same complaint where they are 30 years old or they are 80 years old. And I say, here's why. I'm bone on my knees. I said, yeah, but that's not what's causing your hurting. The hurting is not caused by bone on bone. The hurting is caused by inflammation, which comes from the wrong food. So I said, please come off sugar for a month. Come off vegetable oils for a month. Nothing fried. Come back. And then they come back and I can walk now. 80% less than what I used to have. And that's what's causing it. Okay? And you're still going to be bone on bone. All right, at one point you might need a knee replacement. But the quality of life with the same bone on bone, 10 times different. If you're hurting anywhere in your joint, stop looking around, I messed this shoulder 50 years ago. No, if it was like that, you would have hurt 50 years ago continuously until now. Come on, grow up. All right? Doesn't mean it's not the cause, or the original cause, but it's not the ongoing source of your problem. Okay? And not only that, but once your immune system switches from being very targeted and specific to non-specific and everywhere, then our defense against cancer, viruses, and bacteria gets low, and I told you more likely you're going to get infections, inflammations. Then you get the same inflammations in your stomach, you get acid reflux, and you get heartburn, and you don't know why, and then you have reflux going all the way into your lung at night from hiatal hernia, and then that causes COPD and asthma. I never smoked in my life. Well, you smoked your vegetable oil and your sugar. And and we don't know. Actually, we know. We take the kids away from this, immediately everything gets better. All right? The same with inflammatory bowel disease. This is, I promise you, the herb ranch dressing. This is most favorite garden herb ranch in the world, Chick-fil-A. So what do they have? We're going to read the labels. Total fat, 29 grams. Saturated fat, 5. But remember, we're trying to find what? The polyunsaturated fat, omega-6. So that's 29 minus 5, 24. 25 divided by 4, 6 teaspoons of vegetable oil. And here it says what it is. It's soybean. All right? And then we have words that you don't know. I call them FEPs. That's 20% of the disease. So 8% of disease, use 6 teaspoons of vegetable oil. This is, by the way, just one small thing. Most of, at least I observe people using, they use at least 2. Some of them, everything is white, 3 or 4. But anyway, I had actually a patient, I tried to take it away from the hospital, in the hospital, and got really angry with me, saying, no, give it back to me. The only thing allowed me to take a picture. I gave back and used it. But I'm just saying it. It's a serious problem. All right, so 6 teaspoons of oil, right? How many packs of cigarettes? 5 teaspoons, 1 pack. Come on, it's time to remember. You're tired. I know. All right. What about vegan milk? Vegan milk, we can read the labels, and then you find this. The olive milk has the glycemic load of a Coke and as much oil as a serving of French fries. And a serving of French fries has how many teaspoons of oil? 5. And how many packs of cigarettes? 1. Okay? So vegan is not necessarily bad. Now there are some vegans that you can go around. For yogurt, I always say go for the full plain yogurt if you absolutely need and you want your diet. Don't go for the low fat, no added sugar, or low fat added sugars. They take out the sugar, they take out the fat, they put the sugar, or if not, they use those sweeteners, and they tell you zero everything. So if you zero everything, don't. Now, if you have any kind of allergies, okay, or acne, or immune conditions, highly advise you, and I agree with Dr. Mark Hyman, that you should try for 3 months no dairy products at all. Okay, why? Because it's a lot of the allergies that are triggered by those products, particularly the cow milk. All right, and there is some coconut milk. That's from Kroger. I look at the labels here. Total fat, it's all saturated. So coconut will have, the real coconut milk will actually have only saturated fat. So but it has zero fiber, it has carbs to sugar 6, pure fat. There is no vegetable oil, at least I don't have to worry about that. Saturated fat 5, sodium 75. So the only thing is wrong with this coconut milk, you absolutely need a vegan milk, is that it's got the FEPS. What's the FEPS? Is the xanthan gum, and that's the emulsifier that causes leaky gut. And I don't know what's organic coconut cream, but that's a different story. All right, so here's what we need to avoid. All vegetable, all the dressing, all the commercial available dressing. Unless you know how to read labels like I do, I already put you to sleep how to read my farm, so I know this is a problem, okay? Of course, mayos, use it when you absolutely need it for whatever food you're baking, very rare. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not crazy. Maybe you can try some plant-based burger if it's avocado-based, and again, if the alternative is another burger from me that I don't know, then I would use that. I'm not saying you should never have it. I tried, I tested, it's excellent taste, but I would not do it every day. Nothing fried, nothing of these cookies, crackers, chips, everything. Ladies, please do yourself a favor. Use this as little as possible, as least frequent as possible. I mean, use it when you have to. Social pressure, I get it. You have to, as opposed to women have to look good. I get it. But don't do it out of vanity, because it's not going to help you. It will do exactly opposite long term. All right? Eat nuts, seeds, and grains seasonally, not every day. Anybody knows what Velveeta is? Mac and cheese. Well, it's actually not cheese. It's actually made from canola oil. But everybody thinks they put this or skim milk, but there's less than 10%. And that's why they put it on a regular shelf. It's not cheese if they can keep it at room temperature. Yeah, I mean, this is all just trans fats and burned oil. Fried oil, basically. That's what you're putting there, and yellow stuff. What about the famous Philly cheesesteak sandwich? I actually have a patient who owns this kind of 4 or 5 of these places, and I told him, you gotta be careful, because I asked him how he makes this, what cheese he is, and the most famous, and by far the most favorite, everybody, is the Cheese Whiz best one, which is nothing but Velveeta for the cheese. It's American cheese. It's not cheese. It's the same way. It's just soy oil or whatever, but that gives the most flavor and taste and whatever it is. So please, make sure they use provolone or mozzarella or real cheese if you were to have one of these. Don't go for the Cheese Whiz version of it. I told him, man, you gotta do something. Tell them you actually use real cheese or something. Maybe you can use that for good, and you can go up on the price. But no Cheese Whiz. Okay, you have in the handout, I'm gonna go over the rules and everything.